Hello class, this is your teacher Mr. McDougall with your next project tutorial, and we are still in Unit 4, the shot list. This will be episode 3, camera angles. So we've been working our way through the Studio Binder shot list playlist, and we've been slowly practicing each one of the types of categories of camera shots. In the first one we learned about shot sizes, and then this previous lesson we learned about camera framing. Now we're going to talk about camera angles. And again, the structure will be the same. I need you to watch the Studio Binder video, Ultimate Guide to Camera Angles, Shot List, Episode 3. While you are watching that video, take notes on the video as well. Again, same structure, at least 15 full sets of notes. You can have more than 15, but minimum 15 with at least 2 to 3 notes on each type of camera angle because we will be practicing them. So watch the video to get all the information you can, and I will also summarize it in this presentation that you can take notes on as well. Okay, so let's talk about the camera angles that you will be practicing. So again, these are the objectives. We will understand and practice the different types of angles talked about in the video, go over our learning standards, and let's begin talking about each one. So the first one it mentions in the video is the low angle. And the name of this one is because the camera is down low. The camera is low, pointed up. Okay, it's easy for people at first to get these first two types of angles mixed up because they're not sure of where the camera is pointing or not. The low angle means the camera itself is down low. As you can see from these examples, it's down below the subject's eye line and it's pointed upwards at the character so we can still see them. It could be a subtle angle or an extreme one, like you can just go a little bit below the eye line, or you could be like these two examples where the camera is really down low, almost towards the ground. And similarly, you'll see it paired up with previous shots. These are in the cowboy shots because they're shot to about the thighs. And again, it's used for heroes and villains because it makes the subject look really big, powerful, and threatening, just like we talked about in the cowboy one. When you see this, you want your hero or your villain of the story to seem like they're extremely confident and powerful, so we use this low angle to look up at them. Like if you're looking up at someone bigger than you, it gives the impression that they're big and strong and powerful and confident. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the high angle. And again, this one is the exact opposite because the camera itself is up high. The camera is moved up high and is pointed down. So again, think about camera position when we're talking about the angles. The low angle is because the camera's down low. The high angle is because the camera's up high, pointed towards our characters. Again, is the exact opposite of a low angle. So it's easy to get these mixed up, but try your best to remember which one is which. And again, this gives the different emotion. In the low angle, we're looking up at the character, like we're looking up at someone big and powerful. In the high angle is the exact opposite feeling for the most part. Not all the time, but for the most part, where we're looking down at a character now, and this makes them look really small and weak. So if you think about you are the bigger person looking down. If you have a younger sibling, then you look down at them, like they're smaller, weaker, you have to protect them. So this, again, makes our heroes or someone look very vulnerable when we're looking down at them. When we get all the way up, we get to an overhead shot. So this is basically an extreme high angle. The overhead is when your high angle goes all the way up to 90 degrees and is pointed straight down. So this is similar to a high angle because we're up high pointed down, except this one's pointed straight down to the ground. So this one's called the bird's eye view or the God's eye view because humans don't naturally look this way. We don't naturally just look straight down all the time. We're looking straight forward usually. But that's what this one is called. This one often gives presence to like a bird or the divine God, where it's like looking down because those would be the only creatures that can see from this particular angle, not us humans naturally. So when you're doing this angle, think of it like when you're looking on Google Maps. You know, when you look on Google Maps and you look straight down, that's the angle we're talking about. We're talking about a 90-degree angle straight down at a character. So you're pointed down to the ground. A Dutch angle is a very fun one because the camera is crooked for this one. And again, this is very unnatural. We don't normally structure our shots like this. We want it to point straight on. So we'll usually do this to create tension. You'll see a lot of filmmakers or videos will do this Dutch angle all of a sudden. And again, it shows that something is wrong in this shot. Like the character realizes that something bad's about to happen and their world's starting to get a little crooked. And it makes us feel tense or unnatural because we don't normally look this way. It means something bad is usually about to happen when we see this Dutch angle. So for this one, you get to tilt the camera so it's crooked and looking at our character again to get a little bit more of an extreme, non-natural look. The next set are going to be more focused on camera height off the ground, not so much of an angle. The angle can vary, but these next set are referring to camera height. So the first one is eye level. And that means that the camera is the same height off the ground as the character's eye line. So whether they're standing or sitting, however high their eyes are off the ground, the camera is the same height. We're looking straight into their eyes from whatever angle. You can see we're not pointed in a particular direction. It's not pointed up or down. It's pointed straight on, but it's at their eye line. Again, this is kind of like the medium shot size where we're talking about, this is the most natural one. When you're having a conversation with a person, this is our most natural look as humans, where we're looking straight on to someone, not an overhead or a high angle. We're looking straight on into a person's eyes. It gives us a very strong connection to that person. The next one, we're going down a little bit. We're going down to the hip level. So again, this means that the camera height off the ground is the same height as the subject's hip. So however tall they are when they're standing up, the camera is at their hip height. It can still be pointed different directions. It can be pointed up a little bit towards their faces, like you see from these examples right here. The camera's still pointed up, but it's down here low. It's only at their hip high off the ground. So that's what we're talking about, camera height. So this one, it doesn't really matter which direction the camera's pointed, up or down, but it's hip high off the ground looking at our subject. Same with this one. We're about this hip height of these bad guys. Then we're going to go down a little bit further to knee level. And again, these are all the same. It just means that the camera is this high off the ground. So however tall your subject's knee is off the ground, if they're standing or sitting or kneeling or getting ready to run like this, it just means it's that high off the ground. And again, it can still be pointed in a particular direction. Often it's pointed up at a low angle, or it's pointed straight on. Maybe it's focused on something specific, but you can see the camera is at this person's knee level. It doesn't always mean that it's pointed at the knees. So don't think that every single picture just means it's a picture of somebody's knees. That's not what knee level is. It just means it's knee high off the ground. Okay, so you can still point it at whatever you want. If you want to point it at a particular subject or something around someone's pants, maybe they have something in their pocket that we can only see at knee level, that's what we're talking about for knee level. And then the very last one that we're practicing is the ground level. And that one, by its name, you can imagine the camera is all the way on the ground or floor as close as we can get to the surface. So again, it can still be pointed straight on. Like if you're focusing on something in the ground, maybe there's something on the ground you want to focus on that you can't normally see when you're standing up. Or you can point it up at a low angle. But again, it's common for dramatic reveals or just showing focused details on the ground level. So for this one, you want to get your shot all the way to the ground, like you're showing someone's shoes or some detail on the ground that you can't normally see from your normal standing height. So that will be the last one that we're practicing. And again, this structure is the same as the other ones. Get into groups, share the camera and the SD card, practice taking 2 photos of each camera angle from the cheat sheet. You'll edit in Lightroom and put it on the classwork slideshow. So if we go back to the slideshow real quick, you'll see everything is the same as before. Find me an online example of each one, an online example of a low angle that are different from the ones I showed you. So again, don't use the same examples you see from my presentation. Find your own. And then when you take your shots, you'll take a low angle 1 and a low angle 2. And then same thing, high angle 1, 2 of each, all the ones from the cheat sheet. As always, I provide you guys a cheat sheet. In the Studio Binder video, it talks about 9 different types. We are going to skip shoulder level. We're only doing the 8 because shoulder level and eye level are pretty much the same. So I don't want you to feel like you're repeating yourself on that one. So we are skipping shoulder level from the Studio Binder video, and we're just going to practice these 8 shots right here. Okay? And just like before, we're building on our description because the goal of this entire project at the very end of this unit, we're going to create our own shot list using Studio Binder, and you're going to need to label all of the factors that go into how you compose your shot. You're going to need to label your shot size, your framing, your angles, and everything else that we're going to talk about. So when you take your 2 low angle photos, as you practice low angle 1 and then low angle 2, tell me what shot size and what framing you went with. And again, for both photos, photos 1 and photos 2, make sure these are different. Don't make these the same for each pair of shots. If you take a low angle, medium shot, single shot, the next one should be completely different. It should be a full shot, 2 shot, or something else. Refer back to the other cheat sheets. So remember, these are the different shot sizes we practiced in the first lesson. These are the different framing we practiced in the previous lesson. So make sure when you're labeling these that they're always different. You're adding variety. For each pair of shots, like low angle 1 and low angle 2, these should not be the same. These should be different for each pair of shots. You should be mixing it up, adding variety. We're going to be building an entire list as we go through the shot list. Again, practicing your descriptions. And then when you practice your 2 high angle shots, again, make sure these 2 high angle shots are different for shot size and framing. Just practice experimenting with everything we've been practicing so far. Okay? So again, just like before, nothing super new. You've gotten used to this already with the next couple ones. The fourth lesson in this one will be a little bit different. We're going to launch into video a little bit in the next one, but everything else is the same as the previous lessons. Just make sure that you are properly labeling these, because this is part of your grade as well. If you do not complete all the notes or complete all the slides with your labels, then you will not receive full credit. So make sure you are staying on top of that. Okay? As always, have fun, take lots of shots, and let me know if you have any questions.